Hello and welcome to Fresh Faced Comics, the comic book podcast where a lifelong comic book reader guides his friend through the world of comics for the first time. My name is Joey Morgan, the aforementioned lifelong reader. With me, as always, is Jacob Morgan. Jacob Blicklighter. Fuck! I almost had it. Jacob Morgan has been on the podcast, but this is Jacob Blicklighter, the one that's always here, the aforementioned newbie. God damn it!
When you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die.
Oh my god, it has been hell these past 2 weeks.
So for those who don't know, Joey is coming off of working like an 11-day streak. He's got one more day tomorrow, and then he's off.
We have day jobs around here, and mine has been getting to me recently. So hence the fucked up intros the past 2 episodes. Anyway. God damn it. Anyway, today we are talking about Throne of Atlantis by Jeff Johns. We're covering both Volume 3 of Aquaman and Volume 3 of Justice League, both called Throne of Atlantis, and the a couple issues that come before the main Throne of Atlantis event. Oh my god, I can speak today. Before we get into today's episode, once again, as always, thank you all so much for listening to the podcast. Seeing just this continuous support and growth through the podcast has been really, really nice. We really can't express our gratitude enough.
Especially on episodes where like we weren't expecting good viewing numbers, like last episode.
Last episode did really great. And I mean, hey, Aquaman, it does something.
This just tells us we need to do more Aquaman, Joe.
I don't mind doing more Aquaman. I don't mind doing more Aquaman. But yeah, seeing this growth on the podcast has been really, really nice. And as always, before we get into the episode, whatever you're listening to us on, just be sure to leave a rating, subscribe to the podcast if you can. Subscribe to us also on YouTube at Blood Donut Studios. Comment on down there if you want to start a discussion about the books that we're covering today, or even any of just the books that we've covered in the past. Also in the description of the YouTube video, I will leave the links to Amazon links to the books that we're covering, and also the links to the books that we are covering next time on the podcast. And yeah, anything else to cover before we get into it?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Thank fuck. All right. Non-spoiler section first. So what is Throne of Atlantis about, Jacob?
So Throne of Atlantis is the first big, at least the miniseries itself. Well, I wouldn't say miniseries. 5-issue arc told between the two running series, Justice League and Aquaman, is specifically about the Throne of Atlantis as a concept and who deserves to sit on it. It's oddly enough, this is one where I would say you definitely should have at least read the previous 2 volumes of Aquaman, specifically just so you can get really into the headspace of Arthur Curry as a character, because that's the driving force between this plot, is this man's headspace and understanding why he would take some of the actions he takes in here, because they are interesting actions.
I think it's kind of early for it, but I think it's a great time to bring up one of our Twitter questions that we got today.
Yes.
That I think is a great jumping off point for the non-spoiler section. This comes from English Giraffe at English_Giraffe on Twitter. So my question would be if this story is a good starting point for newcomers checking out other Aquaman stories, and if it showcases and characterizes Aquaman well. So despite Jacob saying that it would definitely be helpful to jump on with the Trench and the others, and at least there's not that much that comes before Throne of Atlantis. I think it is a better jumping off point than one would imagine. I think
it's okay to jump off here, and it does showcase Aquaman really well. One of my worries definitely actually going in was that with the Justice League being major players, it might get a little too crowded.
But it doesn't, and we still stick to like just the core Justice League members, and even then we only really focus in on like 2 or 3 of them.
2 or 3. Some I actually kind of wish got a little more focus. One in particular.
And also because of events in the previous Justice League volumes, we're down from 7 members to 6, so there's even less like room to just to accidentally like jump too much into other characters. So, like it is a much more like focused story than one would think, despite it being a Justice League story.
Yes. I will say if you are doing this just for Aquaman and you're not following like the Justice League storyline, then I would just get the Aquaman version of this.
Yeah.
Because that one has 2 issues that specifically are basically prologue issues, focusing in on Aquaman as a character, while Justice League
and
has
and
two
as
extra
we
issues that are just regular Justice League issues telling its own self-contained story, which I also have thoughts on, but I probably won't talk about those until spoiler section because
yeah. But as far as like, jumping on points for Aquaman, yeah, like we said, like, jumping in with the Trench and the others, the first 2 volumes before this, is a great point. Is a great idea. But Throne of Atlantis, I think, is also serviceable. But as a whole, I know we recommended it last time on the podcast, but getting the Jeff Johns Aquaman omnibus is probably your best bet.
yeah.
Great stories for Aquaman newcomers, and what we pretty much covered most of what's included in that omnibus
All of
now
it
with
bar
this episode.
one volume, like
Yeah.
volume 4 of Aquaman from the New 52, which I'm sure we'll cover at some point.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Just not next time. Spoilers. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. So yeah. So yeah, as far as like jumping on points for Aquaman, yeah, I guess that's where it stands. I guess when it comes to recommending this story alone, maybe it's not the greatest standalone thing, but it can work. I'd
yeah,
say.
it can work. It can work. I'd also just highly recommend it. I'll also say the plot is really tight. It
Mhm.
seems that Johns does a really good job at tight 4 to 6 issue story arcs, because there's definitely like a chance of letting a story go on too long, and Johns knows not to let something go on too long and languish just because it might be selling well or something. It's tell the story and then give it big beginning, middle, end, and keep things still ongoing for like the individual ongoing books, um,
Mhm.
especially the Justice League book, because there's some interesting things in here hinting at the future of that law
Yeah,
of
we're
this.
definitely setting up like, where both titles are going. This is just a crossroads between Justice
Yes,
League and Aquaman at this point.
but yes, um, and despite all that, it is if you are following Justice League, it is kind of necessary to get the Justice League trade as well, despite having overlap, quite a lot of overlap. Um,
Yeah, like I saw like 60-70% of the books are like the same, between volume 3 and of
yeah.
each series.
So really, whichever one you purchase, if you're only going to be able to purchase one, purchase it based on if you prefer following Justice League or if you prefer following Aquaman as a
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, if you're doing what we're doing on the podcast and how I set up these episodes, then we're covering the entirety of both titles. So having both volumes is a great help. But like Jacob said, like if you're only following one of them, which are you more interested in at that
Yes.
point?
Um,
And whichever series you're reading, when you get to the actual Throne of Atlantis event, you don't have to have read the other title to understand what's going on in it.
yeah, yeah. Especially Justice League. Like Justice League, there aren't nearly as many connections, which is also kind of interesting in the way that the DC animated movie universe adapted this story, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, we will
Uh,
talk about that. As far as adapted media, we'll be covering the Throne of Atlantis animated movie at the end of the episode, and the 2018 Aquaman movie directed by James Wan. So
yes.
yeah,
So
we'll be
there's
talking.
so this is a story that I'd have to say is probably the Aquaman story that is at least in public consciousness, um, just the general public in general, and it's a
Mhm.
good one to be in public consciousness
Oh,
of.
definitely. The fact that this one has been adapted so many times, at least the very core concepts of Arthur and Orm fighting over the throne. The fact that idea has stuck with so many, it makes for really compelling drama, no matter what version of the DC universe it's in, I'd say.
Yeah, and honestly, I was kind of surprised with how some of the drama played out. Um, there was oddly enough when you go into this, there's less antagonism than I was originally expecting.
Yeah, especially like the way that talking about the issues outside of the main five of the event in Aquaman 14, which is at the beginning of this volume. I love the way that Arthur and Orm talk to each other. Hell, even at the end of the others, the way that Arthur talks to Orm briefly. There's not necessarily antagonism there, but it slowly builds throughout the story.
It's building, and when it eventually does bubble over, it's great. I should also say that this is one where having, I think it's basically two artists between the books.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's the main one is Ivan Reis, who moves away from Aquaman and does all the Justice League issues. And then I believe Paul
Pelletier.
Yeah, probably Pelletier. Who takes over for the Aquaman issues. Their styles, once again, their styles aren't so different that you don't entirely notice, and things. It makes things mesh together, especially as, like we talked about last time, this is definitely a story arc where Johns does what he did in The Trench and the Others, where each issue very much leads to the next one. That connected storytelling. There aren't a whole lot of jumps, and it's a kind of a big story arc. Like, you see the effect on like the DC, like sort of all of like the DC Earth as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is a very nice, a very nice little thing that didn't, like, Johns didn't have to do. But he did.
But also for like early days New 52, establishing those things throughout the universe is really nice to see here, I think.
Yes. And it brings things together. I'll also
that will be undone in 4 years' time.
In 4 years. In 4 years' time. I mean, I don't entirely blame them. We've talked about how insane the
But
New
honestly,
52
like
is.
I would say, like, honestly, like early New 52 and late New 52 are like prime New 52. It's when you get into that middle area, when there's a lot
They
of like
kind of lose like a direction, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It's when their creative teams are sort of going back and forth between, do we even continue to pursue this idea, and do we hold on to these big arcs that we're still setting up early New 52? It's interesting to see, and as we get further in with the titles that we have already started in the New 52, we'll definitely get there eventually. It'll be interesting to see.
See, there's a reason I like the phrase "commit to the bit." Like, if you make a decision, you kind of have, especially in storytelling, you kind of have to commit to it. Like, you got to push through. It's what made Death of Superman as an arc work. They committed that Superman is dead.
Yeah, definitely.
We are going to be exploring the ramifications of that, and then he, eventually comes back. It's,
despite how well that may have worked at times, how much are you going to focus on how much this affects everyone around Superman? It's debatable. But still, they committed to it, and you have to commend them for that. Yeah.
Yes, you have to commend them for that.
But more on that later. Let's see, what else? Anything else to cover in non-spoilers?
I'll also say this is my first exposure to Tony S. Daniel as an artist, really.
Well, we covered the one issue in Death of the Family.
Yeah, but like, did
he
do art?
I remember you rather liked his art in that one.
Yeah, but like this one, you have 2 full issues and it's like a full story arc, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, he's very good. I really do like him.
Yes, he is. I'm sure we'll talk about the style when we talk about the actual issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have. Final recommendation. Yeah, definitely seek this one out. It's good. I don't think it's necessarily as strong as The Trench and the Others.
I'd agree with that.
But I still think it's good.
But also I would say, like, it's not so much about being it's a strong individual story, but it's not so much about doing that as being a fulfilling moment within the larger story, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's the natural conclusion to everything that's been set up in both titles up to this point.
Yeah, and I don't want to say it falls flat, but there are just some things that I don't think are juggled as well as they could have been.
Okay. All right. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to get into that.
Yeah. But Throne of Atlantis, it does come recommended.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely. Absolutely. What does not come recommended is DC's Bat Cowl NFTs, which I'm still getting fucking ads for.
they're doing what?
Yeah, they're selling like digital bat cowls.
Oh, God, fuck NFTs, man.
Yeah,
They,
yeah,
God,
yeah.
like,
It's
here's the thing. Here's the
yeah,
thing. If they're showing these cowls, like, you can just
yeah.
screenshot them,
I don't get it. I
and
don't get
like
it.
now you
I mean,
have.
if nothing else, I will still say it's better than the fucking Stanley NFTs that Marvel did.
Oh yeah, those are even worse. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah. Ooh.
Oh yeah. Anyway, all right, let's get into spoilers after that little tangent. Let's get into spoilers. Consider this a full-on spoiler warning. We're gonna start off the spoiler section by covering the first two issues of Justice League. We're gonna sort of go back and forth between these two until we get to the main event. So let's see. We kick off on Justice League number 13. This is the first one drawn by Tony S.
Yes,
Daniel.
Tony S. Daniel, and
So Cheetah.
so
Um,
Cheetah. Yes,
what? So seeing this cover, did you know there was a Cheetah story incoming or no?
I didn't know there was a Cheetah story incoming, but I vaguely knew who the character was.
Okay.
Uh,
What did you know her from?
I just knew that she was basically Wonder Woman's big villain.
Yeah.
Like
Okay. Gotcha.
I didn't know any of what her deal is. I don't know if the backstory presented here is the backstory that's generally used.
Totally depends on who you ask. I personally do not have as much experience with Wonder Woman comics as I would like. Which I am continuously expanding, of course. So again, depends on who you ask. As far as when it comes to adapted media, Cheetah has been adapted like twice, three times, I think. So you know, it's not something that you're gonna be like, oh well, let's see how all these different versions adapt Cheetah. You know, it's just here's Cheetah.
Cheetah.
Yeah,
Um,
like one version of the adapted versions of Cheetah actually do her origin. So and yeah.
so yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
So
We
we
open up on the
start.
issue exactly where villain's journey left off.
Uh,
I don't know. I don't mind it.
so yeah, it's the conclusion of the kiss. Superman and Wonder Woman part ways because drama and simmering sexual tension.
Yes.
Um,
But anyway,
and,
five days later, we're fighting Cheetah.
um,
um, yes. So Wonder Woman is fighting Cheetah in a jungle. The rest of the league is close behind, or we get there. Yeah, the rest of the league is
yeah,
close behind.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of a quick of this. You get a sort of a rundown of who Cheetah is. Her actual name is Barbara. It's presented almost as a curse that Diana wants to bring her back to humanity, um, and she doesn't believe in humanity. Um, and interestingly, the lasso of truth doesn't work on her.
Yes.
Um, it's and the whole is like, oh, civilization is just a mask. And actually, kind of one of my criticisms of this two-part story is that it's only two parts, and
Yeah. There is something to really explore there, and
like
because of the way that comics work, they're like, okay, we clearly have to cut this short because we have a big event coming up.
yeah, which is a shame. Like this almost feels like something that needed to be explored in a Wonder Woman solo title. Um,
Yeah, most definitely. But Brian Azzarello was redefining the character for the New 52 at the time,
uh,
so yeah.
so yeah, the action is nice, and I really like Tony Daniel's style. I really like it. Um, but Wonder Woman basically gets knocked out and is
Mhm.
found by Flash and Cyborg.
Yes.
And the one thing that's on her mind is she has to find Barbara, aka Cheetah. Um,
You know,
and
Tony Daniels' guy faces are all like pretty boys.
huh, I
Look
mean,
look at Superman here.
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe not all of them, but most of them.
It's the big ones are.
If you read the second issue of that Detective Comics run that we started in Death of the Family, there's a there's a scene where just I don't know. I love the way he draws Bruce Wayne in that.
See,
Anyway,
I have not, but
anyway, yeah. So anyway, we're back at the Watchtower here. Let's see. This is still the 5 days later.
Yeah, 5 days later, Bruce and Arthur go to Steve Trevor, who is in the medical care of Argus.
Mhm.
And it's like, they're trying to get information on Cheetah. Interesting that they kind of push forward a little bit of Steve and Diana's relationship here and how
Mhm.
it's sort of decaying, though not really.
Yeah, they still allude to it a little bit, but interestingly, they and Tony Daniel sort of draws Superman in the same sort of like positions on the next scene here when he's talking to Wonder Woman, sort of to parallel
Yeah,
that, I think.
it's interesting parallel, and we learn some basically Cheetah's backstory that Barbara Minerva was the first friend Diana made coming to the world of man, um, and they made friends through stopping a robbery,
Mhm.
and she worked at Argus, and there was a ritual dagger from a lost tribe in the Congo.
So you know how like the DCEU is very much based on the New 52?
Yes.
This is pretty much Barbara's backstory in Wonder Woman 1984.
Ah.
Yeah.
See, I haven't seen either of the Wonder Woman movies.
Most
Uh,
most people agree the first one's amazing. I like the second one
I know
personally.
some people
It's
don't like the second one.
the second one's a bit more controversial, but I don't know. I like it.
I don't know. Well, I'm sure we'll eventually
We'll
talk
eventually
about
we'll
it.
eventually have a reason to watch it.
Yeah. Uh,
um, yeah.
yeah, but like she cut herself and became the cheetah,
Yes.
which is an
It's
interesting backstory.
yeah. Like
Uh,
I said, it's one of those things where like people aren't gonna be like this is you know I. I really hate saying things like this, but man, like I don't think Cheetah's anyone's favorite DC villain. No one's gonna like die for the fucking backstory of Barbara Minerva to be preserved, I'd say.
I mean, I think you
She's a
could do
cool
some.
character. She's a really cool character, and I do like her.
You could do more interesting things with her, and it's clear Johns almost wants to,
But
but
again,
has two
yeah, I
issues.
was gonna say again, big event coming up. Lots more to
Uh,
do.
you have a little more simmering sexual tension between Clark and Diana.
Yes,
Uh,
and then we get a nice scene between Vic and Barry, which I think is
yes.
great. They have like one of my favorite dynamics in this particular
Something
just
that
of the
something that
season.
gets built up through the crossover, which is nice,
Mhm.
um, and something that we will probably touch on when we talk about the adaptation and how they changed some things with regarding Vic.
Yeah.
Um, but it's this strategy that Cyborg really doesn't have a life to go back to,
Mhm.
because on one hand he kind of doesn't, but he also does. I feel like Johns is very much not just commenting on the idea that he doesn't have a life to go back to, but that a lot of it is in his head.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
he's still
definitely.
Victor Stone. I mean, Victor Stone is a character who's is his arc is his character is defined by things of identity, um, be it accepting identity, accepting technology, being an example of identity for others. There's a lot you can do with Cyborg, um, which I, it's makes me very glad that Johns it gives him some focus.
Mhm.
Um,
And I like that Johns chooses Barry and Vic as the characters that sort of connect here because Barry lays it straight out. Green Lantern quit, Batman and Aquaman are fighting about who's leading the team, and now something's going on between Wonder Woman and Superman. Like they're pretty much the only two left. Like they're still here for the team, and so they sort of like connect on that level. It's really interesting.
and this one moment of come on of you're a funny guy, Flash. Come on, start calling me Barry. Now, what are those two talking about?
Yeah, it's
It's
really
just
really nice.
it's
Yeah.
this nice beat of quippiness. as we can see, Clark and Diana having their moment.
Yes.
Flash and Cyborg coming in, both, being happy to help, trying to track her down. Batman and Aquaman
having their dick measuring contest.
While Steve Trevor is just kind of trying.
Yeah, you feel bad for Steve in this one, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, to the Congo. We're in the Congo. Here's the League. We are still hunting down Cheetah. She eventually reveals herself. I like that we show here that like she is legitimately a match for like most of the League.
Yeah, like she scratches Batman, which, okay, is it bad that so I don't like the portrayal of Batman who is always prepared for everything and is unbeatable.
I mean, typically that's the go-to Bruce Wayne characterization, but in cases like this, like this is still fairly early days Bruce Wayne, part of the Justice League. So
it's still nice to just see him getting his ass handed to him just for a moment. And then Flash,
Cheetah knows to immediately go for Flash's leg, so he can't run. She goes after Superman then, and she bites him, giving us the most hilarious cliffhanger of Tony Daniel gets to draw Superman as a cheetah.
Person.
I love it. I love
it. Okay, cool. It's
fun. It's camp. We love it.
It's camp. It's dumb. It is definitely a panel, and it's a full page.
Oh yeah. That's the big cliffhanger.
That's the big cliffhanger, and I love the way he's then drawn on the cover to issue 14.
Yeah.
Which is The Secret of the Cheetah Part 2. And he still has like his Kryptonian abilities, because why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Which is great, but like, again, great. Tony Daniel also did the cover. Yep. And
we're on to Justice League number 14 now. Superman, being Superman, is able to take on most of the League himself now that he is infected by the cheetah. My God, this part of the plot always throws me off. Who are these guys?
This is the tribe. This is the Lost Tribe from the Congo, who I don't think they get a name.
I don't think they do either.
Which is a shame. Like, world build, Johns. World build.
Which Johns is typically good at, I'd say.
Yeah, like this is one where he kind of drops the ball.
Yeah. Once again, we're gonna mention a million times here. Just in these two issues, like Johns doesn't have the time that he needs to tell this full story, and there's a great story here to tell. Just hard to smash it all into two issues.
Yeah, and like the cheetah's just gonna slaughter the tribe, and the whole idea is slowly revealing. One, it's like, right, we have to save Superman, make him Clark again. And he's out of action for basically the rest of the issue, mostly until like the end. But what's interesting is you have Cyborg using ultrasonic sound, him staying with Bruce while everyone else is trying, making a plan, trying to capture her. And this whole idea, like, Clark is going to slowly die from the cheetah virus. I am trying my hardest to avoid referencing a certain thing right now.
What are you trying to reference?
You know exactly what I'm trying to reference.
Do I?
Yes.
What are you
cheetah virus.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Wow. See, this I'm telling you, it's been a long 2 weeks.
It's been a long 2 weeks when you don't get that. Here's your obligatory Doctor Who reference.
There we go. Mandatory Doctor Who reference.
This is basically the plot to Survival.
Yeah, it is.
I was like, I'm enjoying it because it's Survival. It's basically Survival, and I enjoy Survival. Yeah. Survival, for those who don't know, is the final serial of classic Doctor Who, which involves people turning into cheetah people. It's a whole thing.
And it's amazing.
Yeah,
but it's also an allegory for coming to terms with your sexuality.
That too.
Which Gotta love. Gotta love.
Gotta love this kind of isn't though. Really, it's more
No,
let's.
no, not at all.
This is more
Not at all.
a gut punch. Um, it's like right. It's like right. We're just gonna try to save Superman. They used blood to cure the infection, which is kind of a grim idea. Uh,
Yeah. Cool idea though.
which
Like it really taps into that sort of like tribal instinct that this whole story is going for.
yeah. Um, and we have
Wonder Woman goes to confront Cheetah then herself. Then we go into like sort of like what the backstory of the Cheetah is,
is
and
and this bit I genuinely really liked.
yeah, it's this really interesting backstory of like how this being the Cheetah is sort of like passed down and how it came to be. It's really cool.
And basically the idea that it's not like a curse, it's like a protector spirit thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Sort,
such
sort of like a survival instinct, like natural selection type. It's really cool.
yeah, which is such a gut punch because then it eventually reveals that Cheetah gets knocked into the water where Aquaman captures her and she's taken into Justice League custody. And you learn that so you finally know the truth. The Cheetah isn't the bad one. I am.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting idea. It's a great gut punch.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's not really enough time to explore it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and I do believe actually this is a big change that the New 52 does is typically it is portrayed that the Cheetah is the thing that makes Barbara evil, but in this case,
I don't mind that sort of a change.
yeah,
Like
this
that
this is
sounds
good.
like an old-fashioned trope.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
like do something interesting. I do like that Diana is, sort of ever the trying to reason with her, and letting her get, giving her, a second chance because she wants to save her, in the end. And Cheetah ends hinting, basically hinting to someone mysterious that, tell me when Black Manta arrives.
Mhm. This is a
She's
weird bit though that when we go into Barbara's backstory that I'm not a huge fan of is that they say that she's gone by like multiple names, that she's changed her identity every place that she's gone. Um, she's a
yeah.
criminal. Like I don't mind that she was like a bad person before she met Diana, but
The idea that she's just
there's
this
this idea of like sort of
master criminal who's
yeah that's
always on the
that
run.
kind of rubs me the wrong way. But
Yeah, it doesn't. It feels like something they would have found out before this.
yeah,
Like,
definitely. But also, I mean, I think the implication is that this is definitely one of Diana's first encounters with her. Like the idea being that like Diana, created Barbara's version of the Cheetah like herself in her own story or whatever, and then not long after this happened.
yeah, maybe it's still a bit weird.
Yeah, yeah.
But we then have a very nice sequence. Even though I am not a fan of
I
the relationship,
I think it's done well here.
yeah, this is probably where it's done at least the best that it's been
Yeah.
done.
For those that don't know, we're about to cover the infamous Superman Wonder Woman relationship, which we touched on briefly in the villain's journey. But I want to bring up our next Twitter question for this. Actually, this comes from at Jamie_season 7. Who, by the way, Jacob, I don't know if I told you, I did book for a podcast episode.
You didn't. You
Yes,
didn't.
yeah, and I'm not
Ooh.
telling you which one.
Okay, okay. You know
Um,
what? Yeah, we will talk about this when we're not recording,
We
Joey.
will. We will. Anyway, so yeah. So he says, oh, and question wise, I believe this is where their relationship fully starts. So what are your thoughts on Johnson's pairing of Superman and Wonder Woman? I guess first off, I don't think it's a Johns thing. It's probably
This
just, it's a higher ups a DC thing, and
which higher up in particular, Joey?
probably Dan DiDio, who I love despite all his faults. I really do. Um,
Okay. I'm okay. I'm actually kind of conflicted.
because it's not bad when it's actually down on paper. Just when you look at it in the larger, like in the grand scheme of Superman stories, this doesn't work because it's got to
like
be Lois, you know?
and I get it. We haven't had any Lois Lane really in the New 52 at this point, if I'm incorrect.
We had her briefly in a Villain's Journey.
Right. But we really
And
haven't.
she was pretty present throughout the George Perez Superman stuff in the New
Oh,
52.
okay. See. Good. That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So,
But again,
but like,
strictly just as a reporter.
yeah, but for when the story is told, Lois really isn't present. Um, and
And also, I understand the want to change something like this. You know, you're restarting the entire DC universe. Not everything can end up the exact same way that it was before, right?
right.
So here, I think it's done the best that it possibly can be. I love this scene. Superman and Diana realize that the reason that they can't actually go further in their relationship is because they don't share enough with each other. Um, so Clark takes Diana to Smallville. He takes her to this little diner that he likes. As Superman and Wonder Woman though, still, which I really
I
like.
like that.
Um,
I like it's the one. It's I love just this one panel of them sitting in the diner, crowded around by people, and you have the balloon Wonder Woman and Superman are sitting right there in our diner. Ask them how they like my pancakes.
I love it. It's Smallville. It's
It's
fucking
Smallville.
Smallville.
I love it.
Yeah. But we go over to the Kent farmhouse then, and I love this. I really really love this. We learn that in this universe, Ma and Pa Kent are already long gone. Um, Somebody else owns the farm now, but Clark still comes back here every now and then, um, and just says, "This is me. You know, this is what my life is. This is who I am." And they sort of let each other in, and it's really well done. I think actually, like it's a really really great scene.
It's a great scene. It's very nice. I like the way they end on a kiss. I don't necessarily like the way that it ends.
Oh, come on. It's the most fucking Bruce Wayne thing you
It's
could
such
have.
a Bruce Wayne thing, but I'm afraid it's going to turn into like dumb relationship love triangle bullshit.
This actually sets up the solo title, Superman Wonder Woman. It doesn't really continue much in Justice League itself. They make their own title about the two of them
Okay,
together.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, I,
So as far as what you're reading right now, you don't have to be too concerned about it, but that's what this is setting up.
okay, cool. No, but just some final thoughts on the relationship as a whole. It doesn't piss me off nearly as much as the breakup of Spider-Man and Mary Jane, because
Yeah,
I know that that's a thing.
that's a thing that's happened a couple times.
Well, aren't they still not together again?
Right now they're not. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't. The way this is written doesn't entirely feel like a betrayal of Clark Kent. It feels wrong that he's not with Lois.
Yeah, but also this is a Clark that never even had the possibility to be with Lois.
Yeah, I don't even think this Clark has yet. Has he actually met
He
Lois?
he has. He
He has.
has.
Okay.
But mostly just through working at the Daily Planet.
Yeah. So, and again, it's not one of those things that like. Again, it's not like set in stone that this then has to be the relationship going forward.
Hmm.
Uh, like it's very much one where you could take the characters in an interesting direction. Now, and again, a lot of it just, I mean, sure, I will say, yeah, the premise just does feel wrong because again, the Superman Lois relationship has been there since Action Comics #1.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
But again, like you see the want to do
try
something different
something
here.
new.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's a blip in the timeline, honestly. And
It's not
again,
something I entirely mind though, because I've read the first whatever's collected in the first volume of Superman Wonder Woman. I have that volume, and it's honestly not bad. I like it.
yeah. And it's not like say Marvel splitting up Spider-Man and Mary Jane and then keeping them split up for like over a decade now, it seems, I think. Right?
Well, wait, no, I don't know. I haven't kept up with current Spider-Man comics,
Well,
so
because I know that like
I
one
probably
more
should I
day is
probably
what
shouldn't be
split them up,
I
and
probably shouldn't be
then
commenting on this.
I apparently I don't think they've actually ever gotten back together because I've talked to her to Corey about this,
Hmm.
um, and she said that like they aren't back together, which is insane. Anyway, yeah, it's good. I love the way Tony Daniel draws it. Like,
Yeah,
if
it's
he
very
became the
nice.
main artist on Justice League, I wouldn't complain.
Oh God, who does Trinity War?
I think it's Ivan Reis. It's probably Ivan Reis because I'm guessing
It,
Ivan Reis actually is the one who takes over.
it probably is. I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Ivan Reese.
it's Ivan Reis. Um,
Yeah, Ivan Reese and Doug Mink and Mikkel Hannon. Oh my God, Trinity War is so good. Sorry. God. Anyway, moving on. Let's move into Aquaman. Let's do the first couple issues of Aquaman: Throne of Atlantis. These first two issues before we actually get into the main event. So
the
this is the
first one.
first one being the Zero issue number
Yes,
0.
issue 0. So
So this is the first actual like DC wide event that they did in the New 52. So each year they would do like sort of like a summer event, and this was the first one. Was that every title got a 0 issue.
right.
So the next event I'm pretty sure was Forever Evil. Then it was, oh God, Forever Evil. Then I want to say there was something else. Then oh no, yeah, I think it was Forever Evil, Futures End, Convergence, and then I think it was Rebirth. I might be missing one in there.
Uh, so was this 0 issue? Was this like a free comic book day issue?
No. This was that like every single title that was currently running in the New 52 got a 0 issue. They all got like an origins, but it's sort of not an origin story, but just something that took place before the New 52.
Too. So like just sort of like a prologue type.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yep.
Yeah. And would it have been like all released at like in like the same month? Like
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So they all came out like right around the same time. Right alongside. I think they were meant to come out alongside like issue 12 or 13.
yeah. I think this one was after 13.
Yeah. So the only reason that like, you haven't read them in other titles is because in Batman's case, the 0 issue ties into 0 year, so it's included in that.
So
And then
it's in other things.
yeah. And then with Justice League, the 0 issue is used on the backup stories, which we'll talk about briefly, but there's a whole volume dedicated to it. It's the
Those are the
Shazam.
ones with like Shazam.
Yeah. So they
Yeah.
dedicated the 0 issue of Justice League to continuing those backup stories in a full-length issue.
Yeah. Because Shazam is on one of the covers.
Yeah,
Like
I said, we'll talk about that briefly when we get into the actual event. But meanwhile, here we go. Aquaman number 0. So I'm assuming we're seeing here what we talked about in the others, the
yes.
post fight with Black Manta and his father. Arthur's father is injured here. He's slowly dying.
I like how the cover has Aquaman bursting out of like the actual comic page.
Yeah, that was the theme of like all the 0 issue covers, is they're all like bursting out of a comic page.
Yeah. So you have okay, so the way Arthur is drawn here, he looks so young.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Like it's baby Arthur, and he's just a lot of this is being really conflicted. And we redo a scene from
the others,
uh,
where we see him sort of, we see it like from Arthur's perspective though, because when we saw it before, we saw it like everyone outside like sort of hounding Arthur about being from Atlantis, and then he burst out. From here, like you see it from his perspective. You're inside, you see him being tortured by all this. He jumps outside, goes into the water,
rips off his shirt
because he's Aquaman. And it's
and we see him go down into the depths and then eventually emerge, emerge, go back down and kind of explore the sea for a couple pages and then attack.
Then he's attacked by a shark.
By a great white shark.
And then he realizes that he can communicate, or not communicate, but send a sort of message to the shark. This is the first time that he does it. And you see, I love like the way Ivan Reis is on this, right?
Yeah, this is an Ivan Reis one.
Yeah, Ivan Reis. I love the way that Ivan Reis draws like Aquaman, like being like really surprised by this. Just like the first time he's ever used this power.
Yeah.
So he sends the shark away. Sees a ship out here, sort of like crashing on the waves.
And we flash back briefly, to why Arthur's dad was a lighthouse keeper,
Mm-hmm.
to watch the shores, and he essentially saves this ship by lifting it up and stopping it from crashing on the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He saves these two people. It's a father and his daughter. Uh, he saves them. What is it? Then this guy says, "What does he say?" I know something important. um, oh yeah, so I guess he knew his. Oh, yeah, he said it's been an old joke for years, but what you did isn't a joke. You really lifted this boat right up. There's a man about my age who was pulled from the water years ago. He claimed to be from Atlantis, though everyone thought he'd been underwater too long. What happened to him? Last I knew, he lived in a fishing village on the coast of Norway. They call him Volko.
Coco.
So we saw Volko briefly in the villain's journey,
Yes.
very briefly for like a page, right?
Yes, like he was in like one page. Um,
Yeah. So Arthur goes to see this Volko. Says, "Volko, my name is," and Volko immediately sees who he is. He says, "You're Arthur." He bows to him. A tear falls from his eye. I like that we sort of like immediately get a feel for who Volko is.
yeah, like this loyalty to the throne and the rightful heir,
Yeah.
which is very interesting.
And what I really love about the way that Ivan Reis draws this here is this is the first time Arthur is hearing about this. Someone believing that he is the rightful heir to the throne of Atlantis. He doesn't take it, very well. He seems very unsure of himself. I don't know,
Yeah.
I think it's very clear right from the out that like he doesn't necessarily want this.
Yeah, well, he's very much like, I'm not anyone's king. I don't even think he realizes his mother was a queen. Because like he finds out that he didn't even know his mother's name. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's implied, and that Volko, was the advisor to the throne, uh, for pretty much all his life. They go inside because Atlantean guards might be watching them,
Mm-hmm.
um,
He
and
sort of tells Arthur the backstory of how his mother and father met. Um, uh, Story we all know, I think, at this point. Father was human, mother was Atlantean. So she was lost out at sea. He found her. They fell in love. Little baby Arthur came soon. But then we learn also that she had a second son.
after being
He's
forced to marry an Atlantean guard, the captain of the Atlantean Guard. He had a second son. Your younger brother Orm. Uh, so I didn't know that Orm was that Arthur had a brother.
Yeah, especially I'm sure that's interesting because I drew attention to the name Orm when we covered the others. So like, oh shit, that's who Orm is, right?
Right.
um, so we learn also that his mother is dead. Um, Arthur asks who killed her, and Volker says, "I believe it was your brother, her own son. After her death, he became the king of Atlantis." Um, so we see further here like why Volko believes that Arthur is the rightful heir. We see where he gets this fucking horrible necklace from. Gets it from Volko there. They go back down into the water, and I love this here. We get a brief glimpse of, well, I say a brief glimpse, it's a whole 2 pages of
That you have to turn the
Atlantis.
book vertically to really get
And it's so nice. I love it.
of Atlantis. Basically filling in the gaps to where issue 1 of Aquaman started,
Hmm.
as well as
And
hinting some
obviously, like
setup.
we know, like all the other stuff happened in between there. Um, I don't mean to say the other stuff. I mean the others, like the group, the others, all that other stuff happened in
Yeah,
there.
because he was still
Um,
wearing the Atlantean jewelry
yeah.
in those flashbacks.
Mhm.
But that is the end of issue 0. Um,
Mhm. Move on to Aquaman number 14 with God, I love this cover. Um, it is weird though that they present Orm or Ocean Master in like full like on the full cover here, and they don't actually show him at all in this issue.
yeah, he's not there in the issue. Who did this cover? Was it?
Let's see, the cover
It was
is,
Reese. It was
yeah,
Reese.
Ivan Reis. Of course it was. But the issue is not drawn by Ivan Reis. This is Pete Woods and Pierre Perez.
Yes,
Um, so yeah, it's an interesting other style. Honestly, kind of similar to Ivan Reis.
kind of similar. And this is basically the prologue to the event.
Yes. So we open up here. We are in 1820, the Atlantic. It's a pirate ship. They pull up an Atlantean. Um, they try
After
to. They try
harpooning him. And he looks okay. He looks kind of like edgy '90s Aquaman.
a little bit, and I think that's definitely on
That's
purpose.
intentional, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and
They
there's
try
this
to kill
idea
him.
that like
This,
he has gills behind his ears,
yeah.
and like this captain, uh, you know, had his eye taken, um, and he's just going to like just murder this Atlantean, but then in a flash of lightning, the ship is surrounded by other Atlanteans,
Mhm.
presumably. Um, while we then cut to the present day.
We're in Amnesty Bay, and we see Arthur again, and just I don't know. I know it was only for 2 issues, but it's nice to see the orange suit again.
Yes.
Um, just to get a brief scene here of him underwater. We tease Orm here. We see like his silhouette. Um, he's talking to who's he talking to here? Did they ever say?
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Um, but what's interesting is he's talking that some believe the boy born with purple eyes will bring about the end of Atlantis. Um, and Orm specifically calls that superstition, and he will not tolerate violence against our own. Um,
Yes.
from his first line,
Um,
immediately setting him up as at least a caring enough ruler over his people. Um,
little bit.
a little bit. He seems to care.
uh,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
I like this. I like this one line here. It says, I take threats seriously. See that Garth has returned to his mother unharmed, and those that wished him harm locked in the wells for trial. Do you know who Garth is?
I'm fairly certain that's like the original Aquaman, right?
The
Or
original Aqualad.
Aqualad.
Yeah, the original
Aqualad.
Aqualad. Yep. Yeah. So nice little Easter egg there. It's fun. We then go over to let's see, Belref Prison in Louisiana. We catch up with Black Manta, who has been here some time now, it seems.
Yes.
And we also see Amanda Waller here.
We see
This
Amanda
one's
Waller.
actually Amanda Waller.
After
Jacob,
after two guards are very dumb of bringing Mantis' helmet into the room with him.
but
Like,
Jacob. This is actually Amanda
yeah,
Waller this time.
not on the first page.
Oh no, yeah, no. I'm saying then she comes in. This is actually Amanda
Yes.
Waller this time.
Okay. Yes.
If anyone's confused, listen to the Justice League episode.
Yeah. Um, like
Anyway, so yeah, so Amanda Waller comes in,
after Manta
um,
just massacres these guards,
as you
uh,
do, as you do.
and like he drowns one of them in a toilet.
As you
Uh,
do.
and Waller's just like, what? Waller's just done with their shit. Like, why the fuck would they? Why? Um, and it's this interesting. I imagine she's like trying to pull together a Suicide Squad,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or
yeah.
recruiting
The idea is
for
that we're like getting more members for the Suicide Squad
that
because
squad.
Suicide Squad is already a thing,
Yeah.
obviously. Um,
It's like the answer is no, Agent Waller. I'm not dying for you. I only die for Aquaman. Teasing that the revenge is still there. Like
mhm.
that cycle is still a cycle of revenge, uh, and it's gonna keep cycling throughout. Um, I'm guessing just the Aquaman book because he doesn't really show up again, does he? In this arc?
No. I
Yeah,
think that's pretty much it.
that's pretty much it. Which it's nice closure. It's important closure.
Yeah, nice to have there. But anyway, so yeah, we have a nice meeting here between Arthur and Orm. Again, just not showing him fully. I don't know why they choose not to show him fully. He's the cover, but whatever. Um,
What's really interesting is that they don't immediately set him up as evil king dictator who wants to see the world burn and just dreams of conquest.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's a surprisingly passive meeting between the two of them. It only gets sort of antagonistic towards the end when Arthur straight up says, "Are you planning to attack the surface?" And Orm says, "Of course not." Um, And I love that. Oh God, I love that.
Yeah, and it's a very the art on on that panel in particular is such like thick lines.
Mhm.
Like
And
it's
yeah.
very thick and it hits. Um, but like it's and Arthur believes him,
Mhm.
and I find it interesting because he's kind of right to actually believe him.
Yeah, because I mean, we as comic readers and as fans of these characters can easily say, "Oh, well, he's gonna fucking attack the surface, then, isn't he?" But like when you consider the history that these characters actually have, they've never actually been aggressive towards one another
No,
in
they
forums.
haven't.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, uh, but we see
I go back to Volko. We see Volko here in the present day finally, which is very nice.
where he's gotten somehow even balder. Um,
Yes.
Someone rushes to him and they find
A dead
a
Atlantean.
dead Atlantean. So
Yes.
Volko jumps into the water. We cut back to Orm and Arthur. Uh, Orm seems genuinely kind of sorry for his brother.
Mhm.
Like it's
But
like
Orm definitely does carry an air of just thinking he's better than Arthur this entire scene. If nothing
he's better.
if nothing else in the way he's drawn and how he always keeps himself ahead of Arthur, and it never actually like looking at him directly throughout this particular part of the conversation.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtext kind of just involving that. Like, I don't necessarily think it's jealousy. I think it's more kind of sadness that he's kind of in his mind has lost his brother
Mhm.
to the surface world, breathing that air pinned to the ground, how horrible it must have been.
But then
uh,
you also feel that Orm thinks that if Arthur were down in Atlantis with him, he's almost glad that he's away because there's no competition then for the throne.
yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
so it's this interesting like inner conflict, I think, in Orm here that's portrayed really well.
yeah, and we sort of get a closure to what happened with that ship that one by one all the sailors were picked off.
Which really just the whole purpose of this is just Orm illustrating for Arthur the might of Atlantis and saying, "Hey, if we are fucked with, we will fight back, and it will not end well for the surface."
Yeah, and like the captain wanting to go down with with his ship, and we see the skeleton of that captain, um,
Mhm.
and sort of the final line is, um, "I love you, brother, and I wish you nothing but happiness." Uh, of this
Fuck.
conversation, which is dark because then it's juxtaposed with someone going to the Mariana Trench and letting out the trench
From the
like
trench.
from the trench.
From the
How many times can we say trench in one sentence?
that is the question.
That is the
Um,
question.
but yeah, so the trench are back. I'm sure you're excited for that.
Yes.
Yes. And also I think I guess the first time I'd read this, I hadn't caught on to it, but looking back at that issue now that we're actually talking about it out loud, it's very obvious who that is.
Yeah, it is, but
Like
it's
like
also
I'm
just
just
a
gonna say
good
like
miss.
I
It's
was
also
just gonna
just a
say like
good
did you
misdirect.
yeah, it is, yeah.
Like,
Because it's
because
showing that like Orm immediately going away from Arthur. Did you catch on to it at all or no?
no.
Okay, gotcha. All right, just so I know that I'm not alone, because that feels really
Yeah.
obvious now that we're talking about
Yeah,
it
now
out.
that we're talking about it, but yeah, no.
Yeah, that's really fucking obvious.
Yeah. Um, but now the event
To the
can
main
start
event.
proper.
Literally on to the
Uh,
main event, and only an hour into the episode.
yes. This is what happens when
I
you
mean, it's
have.
only 5 issues. It's not going to take
Yeah.
that long, realistically.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
a very action heavy
it's a
event.
very action heavy event.
But on to Throne of Atlantis Chapter 1, which is Justice League number 50. Yeah,
15.
50. This is
And
drawn by Reese, and we got to talk about this cover because there's just a new member of the league added to the cover
yeah.
that is supposed to be there.
Yeah. Hi, Shazam.
So I believe starting in this issue, and ran until like the mid-20s of issues plus the Zero issue. There were backup stories at the back of each issue of Justice League that Jeff Johns was writing, retooling the origin of Billy Batson, aka Shazam, having a fight against Dr. Sivana and Black Adam, and setting up the whole Shazam family. And literally, if you read it and watch the Shazam movie side by side, it's the exact same story minus Black Adam in the movie.
See,
Yeah.
I was kind of interested because it's like, oh, is Shazam going to be in this?
Yeah,
and then he wasn't.
It's kind of misleading. It's
yeah.
Also,
really, what makes it even more misleading?
I mean, the next big event in Justice League is Trinity War. So really, it's setting him up to come into play there. So setting him up sort of alongside the other Magic characters we've been setting up at the end of our last couple volumes of Justice League. So like Phantom Stranger and Pandora, setting him up alongside those characters.
Yeah. So what makes this cover interesting is that originally the Justice League version of the trade had this cover.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why. I never knew the Justice League version of the trade had this cover. But man, you could see why they changed it, because Shazam is nowhere to be seen in the actual content of this book.
It makes it look like Shazam is the headliner.
Yeah.
And he's not.
Yeah. He's not even here. He's not even here, like, at all.
Yeah, he's not. Well, I mean, he's here later for like a panel, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is honestly a shame, because
because we love Shazam. We really
do.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if you do. I imagine.
I mean, I at least love Sean Astin as Shazam.
Sean Astin is great. I forgot you have actually had Sean Astin exposure.
Yes.
And I love Zachary Levi in the movie. He's brilliant. But yeah. Anyway. On to Throne of Atlantis. Some great opening panels here
and this is Ivan Reis art.
And just we really haven't been gone from it for that long. But God, I missed it.
You miss it. It goes. It's art that goes hard.
Yeah.
And we see, missile tests, and well, they're not even missile tests. Yeah, they're missile tests, but they just suddenly deploy.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Marines are like, okay, wait, what? Like, the tests are scheduled for 40 minutes, but then it's like, what is it? What's wrong? The countdown was just initiated, and the coordinates of the missiles have been changed, sir. And they just detonate near the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
And you see I think this is just a guard.
Yeah, it's just a guard riding
a seahorse. Which, okay, I know people say that image is dumb and campy, but it's a cool image, especially the way
it's badass. And fucking and also people riding seahorses is just badass. Jason will approve this in the movie that you watched.
Yes.
It's a great moment. But yeah. Anyway, we go to the Kent farm, which is, how's Clark staying here? Don't other people own this now?
I don't know. It's a very good question.
Huh. Anyway, we see Clark
getting dressed,
de-Supermaning and becoming Clark Kent. He hands Diana a pair of glasses. Kind
of lampshading the whole.
To which she has the appropriate response: "You have to be kidding me." So
here's the thing. Here's actually the thing. I don't think I've had a chance to actually talk about this on the podcast. So I wear glasses, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People sometimes do not recognize me without my glasses. Like, I have had it happen, and it is a thing. It's only doesn't work when you're known really well. It's a thing that works.
Yeah.
Over
in the Watchtower, we see Silas again, who we haven't seen in quite some time.
Still an asshole. Still,
still an asshole.
Is a dick.
Yeah.
And there's this great idea. It seems like he's trying to make amends, but doesn't understand exactly. I don't think he's realized how much of the problem he actually is yet.
You also can't help but think here that Silas only has this new invested interest in Victor because he's a cyborg.
He's now, Silas has gotten Victor to be his project.
Yeah. Which, oh God. But
and there's
whatever.
this whole idea of, Silas offering to replace the one lung he has left. And and this whole idea that you would still be yourself and still be human, but like again, seeding that conflict of man versus machine and that theme of identity still there, even though Cyborg as a character is kind of sidelined for a lot of this.
Yeah.
Which
but
is
it's nice.
a shame.
It's nice to see these moments, though.
It's nice to see these moments, yeah. Meanwhile, Batman is chasing
not Penguin goons, but Scarecrow
goons.
Which is interesting.
See, they're dressed as crows.
Aha.
Aha. Aha. So obviously we've covered stuff with Scarecrow as far back as our very first episode.
Yeah.
I like that then you have, Aquaman beating up the goons and bursting in.
And again, dick measuring contest.
Dick measure. Half of their dynamic is just a dick measuring contest.
Which I do love, that like of all the people, like Batman's the fucking, Giga Chad here, but Arthur is like, the one that Johns has chosen to pit against him directly.
Yeah. And Aquaman has a point. Like he kind of has had a point about possibly being the leader, considering he's a king. Technically. But yeah, you have the cops making fun of Aquaman. We basically there's basically just a bunch of recap about, if you missed the trench
here's what's and it helps those that are only reading Justice League.
Yeah.
Like, here's what the trench are. Let's recap the trench and the others, whatever. And meanwhile, here's Mara just being fucking awesome again.
Being awesome. I hope no one's hurt, gentlemen.
I love it. Oh, I love it. So good. Genuinely just one of my favorite DC characters. She's so great.
And there's this idea that she's been following fish that are just swimming away. Something is scaring the fish. And we learn, this is where Arthur can learn about about the USS Mavis, which is the submarine, the carrier from the beginning of the issue, which may or may not have accidentally attacked Atlantis. And like we end this little scene with the water just rising, which is then smash cut to Superman and Wonder Woman on a date.
And I don't know. It's a very cute dynamic here. I really love it. She's just like, Clark, this actually works. Like with the glasses, like it's so great. Now is this the scene? This is the scene they do in the animated movie, right?
Yes. But they kind of extended a little bit.
Yeah.
To add Lois Lane as a character.
Lois Lane, yeah.
You get the feeling though that Diana really doesn't have a civilian identity. Like she's just Wonder Woman.
Well, yeah, we see that even way back in Origin.
Yeah.
She just comes in swinging. She's fucking Wonder Woman. There's no other identity there, and it's nice to see that here. Like, if nothing else comes of this relationship, like Clark makes Diana more human. It's human, cool.
Or at least able to have her own life and secrets, which is nice. But the power goes out because water.
Because water and ships crashing everywhere and a giant fucking tidal wave coming toward the city.
And they rush into action because superheroes. And here we also have a page of Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
Jimmy getting shots while Lois calls him insane. And okay. Lois like Superman, and I feel like I read that like she was kind of annoyed that Superman
maybe a little jealous. Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little
bit.
But they also catch an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, and that's just cool. I love that.
I was also reading Lois's lines with Dana Delaney's voice.
Yes, because and now Dana Delaney. Imagine if you were reading all of Death of Superman with Dana Delaney's voice. Imagine.
It kind of does, but it would have to be a Dana Delaney who knows, Lois who knows who Superman is. But yeah, like they're trying to get to the high ground. I love whenever this book does these panels where you have like one main shot and then just like all the squares at the bottom like this.
Yeah, it's nice. It's very nice, especially
Uh,
on a spread like this.
yeah, and there's this, this terrifying like, oh, we can't save everyone, which is
Mhm.
scary. And Volko saves Lois um, before passing out.
I forget.
Um,
Before you read this, I had told you that Willem Dafoe played Volko, right?
yes, because
Okay,
I'd seen this, and he was in the Snyder Cut.
that's right. Yeah. Okay, so I just have to know: were you reading Volko as Willem Dafoe?
Yes, but
Yes, I'm
that's
so
just
happy.
because like when you have a voice of Willem Dafoe, like I don't care. When we read Spider-Man, I'm going to read Green Goblin in the voice of Willem Dafoe.
I also
It's
just love, well, especially on a line like "I have you, human."
you can
like
imagine that coming out of Willem Dafoe's mouth.
yeah, like even if he looks nothing like the character, just the voice is there. I love.
Just the voices there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's out. He's passed out trying to find Arthur. And Arthur realizes they're following Atlantean war plans. How do you know that? Because
Because
I
I wrote
wrote
them.
them.
And we get a brilliant full page of Orm at the end here. I forget, like, did you know Orm was anything other than Orm, or did you know
I
Ocean?
didn't know the only Aquaman character I knew was Black Manta.
Okay, so you had never heard the name Ocean Master before?
Nope.
Oh, okay, that's
So
interesting.
like this is all new to me, which is great. Also, I love
Cool.
the design of the costume.
Oh yeah, it's
Like,
brilliant.
you know, comic books don't always do use the color purple,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
should
They
because it's a
should,
great color.
especially for villains. Especially
Yes.
for villains. And I gotta say that I don't know, I just love how colorful it is. It's one of my favorite things about James Wan movie is just like how unashamedly colorful it is.
Oh yeah, that movie was very colorful.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's very nice in a world of Dark Knights and Man of Steels, you know.
yeah,
And I do love those movies, of course, but just something like Aquaman is a very welcome addition to the selection of superhero movies.
yeah.
Anyway, on to Aquaman number 15, which is Throne of Atlantis chapter 2. This is drawn by Paul Pelletier.
Yeah.
Um, we
Uh,
see a Gotham City flooding here, and Jim Gordon drowning, which is no such a fucking
Jim
shame.
Gordon and Harvey Bullock drowning
And Arthur Curry saves them, and I'm
saves
just
them
so
both.
happy that that's a scene that
Um,
happens.
okay, I love how Bullock is just like, what the hell just happened?
Yep.
Um, and
Aquaman happened, Bullock.
again, this
Fucking
great character
Aquaman.
moment for Bruce. Barbara's safe, Jim.
Hmm.
Like in 3 words,
Yeah.
so much character.
Yep. And I just love this here. You see, like Batman does what he can for the people that are being saved. Aquaman and Mera here are doing so much work, and just God, I know I mention this every time she's on the page, but I love Mera so much. Like,
Well, actually, I do want to say, I love all of Bullock's dialogue in his short scene.
yes,
It's
yeah,
like Atlantis. I thought that was just a gimmick. Mad Hatter ain't from Wonderland, is he?
so good. Oh my God, I love him.
But yeah,
Harvey Bullock.
Mira's being a badass. They're saving people again. Still pulling the we need to make sure everyone knows that Aquaman is not a joke.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
like he is a full character with his
Yeah,
full.
which we have done successfully at this point, but just in case you forgot.
There's also this nice bit of vulnerability from Mira when she and Arthur are alone. It's like, I tried to push what I could, but I could feel them in the water as I moved it, Arthur, which is
Mhm.
a terrifying image. Like,
She
oh
says
God,
she could feel the bodies in there. Just how many people are already taken by this disaster. They go to find Volko, or sorry, Superman finds Volko. I also like that little look at just Atlantean organs. I don't know. I
yeah.
think it's just really interesting.
It's what I find interesting is that when you have like fantasy humans that are humans but not really humans, you never really get the sense that they're any different from humans, but like here you do,
Mhm.
and it's such a nice
Yeah,
touch.
yeah. We tend to take the fact that someone is humanoid to mean that, like, their insides are humanoid as well. Well, again, back on Doctor Who for a second, it's what makes the Doctor interesting is that his insides are not the same as a human's.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's little
Yeah.
touches like that. Like this is clearly an idea of like let's alter the respiratory system to work underwater as well as above water.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's all a thing. Clark tries to calm him down by pinning him down, and he gets punched.
And again, also something that isn't touched on often: Atlanteans are just as strong as Superman.
Yeah.
We had this exemplified by Arthur in The Trench and the others, but also here, someone like Volko obviously isn't as physically fit as Arthur, but still carries that same strength because he's an Atlantean.
Yeah, I mean it's this great little moment. And folks like if he were still king, they never would have done this. Uh, uh, and then we cut to Arthur and Bruce. Uh,
It's nice to see them actually find some common ground here. You feel like they're actually leveling with each other, not just trying to one up the other the whole time.
yeah, it's this great. And Bruce doesn't really judge him poorly for the fact that he wrote these plans. Because we find out that
there is this really nice moment though where Bruce calls the Atlanteans his people, and Arthur says they are not my people. It's just a nice little moment for him, and then it's silent for that moment where you get that panel without dialogue.
Because again, Arthur is still an outsider.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
That has been the theme of the Johns run on Aquaman, is that Arthur is an outsider.
He doesn't truly belong anywhere.
Yeah. And again, there's this great idea of him going back after, um, going before the Justice League was formed, being again in that sort of angry state of mind, and he builds these war plans of full frontal water attacks, and then they're going to sink a city with their actual forces, whatever's been hit the most. It's chilling, and you can see where Arthur was, in terms of his mindset.
Yeah.
I think that's just
Also nice little reminder, because this is an Aquaman issue, and a Justice League crossover. We need to tell the Aquaman readers what's happening in Justice League, so we give a brief rundown of origin here, where we talk about how the League was first formed with Darkseid here and everything.
yes, and
just a cool little look into because you've never read comics in real time as they've come out. Just a cool little insight into how these sort of crossovers work.
Yeah, especially because they wouldn't have necessarily even probably collected Origin yet, in a trade.
Maybe the hardcover edition was maybe just coming out.
Okay, so it was either you had read it or you were trying to hunt for back issues.
Yeah, which with number ones and for the first 5 issues of any given series is hell.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So if a new Batman number 1 comes out, the day after it's out, it's already going for $100 on eBay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's miserable. Anyway, all right, yeah. So their ship is attacked. Then the Bat boat is attacked.
The Bat boat.
They have to jump out. We go over to Stephen Shin, which I'm so happy about. Stephen Shin, we learn, is on the hit list of people that Arthur wrote the plans to attack and to take down these important figures who know about Atlantis.
Because he knew about Atlantis, yeah, which is fascinating. But
we then learn that Volko made his way up to the Watchtower. Wants to talk to Arthur, so Arthur and Batman make their way up there. Nice to see the League all together, though where Flash is during all this, I have no clue.
That is a good question. But what's interesting is that in this discussion, it's Volker reveals he knows it was an accident, which you just kind of assume the League must have mentioned it, or he must have overheard it.
Yeah,
I know it's someone wanted to start this. I just don't know who, is stated as we, see the trench rising from the mid-Atlantic which is terrifying imagery.
And translated scribblings reading "We are free."
We are free. But yeah, we get a good planning session where at least our main four heroes get a page to shine or so. This great, like, everyone's basically like, we need to bring your brother to answer for this. And Arthur's been like, it's more complicated than that. He's not a supervillain. He's the leader of an underwater nation, which I like that aspect a lot. Like, he's not treated as megalomaniacal villain. It gives something different. It makes the story arc stand out that the villain isn't evil, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, morally questionable, is a racist, yes, but it's not like a megalomaniacal villain who wants to, blow up the world.
Is racist in the same way that Roz Forrester is racist.
Another Doctor Who reference, this time even worse.
We're on a roll. May as well keep going. Going. That's the second McCoy era reference specifically. That's.
I mean, it's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have this great thing where, you have to give me a chance to bring my brother in peacefully. And Bruce immediately responds, "You have it." Again, despite all the dick measuring, there is a lot of respect between these two men.
Yeah, there's this camaraderie between the two of them that I think is portrayed really interestingly.
Great.
So Orm comes up out of the water, says, "Where is your king?" I love this.
And we're in Boston. I love the shot of him rising. It's just like just these two, husband and wife. I'm guessing like just fishing. They were just probably fishing when it happened. It's like I am speaking your language correctly, am I not?
Yeah. It's so you get like a nice little like funny moment in there too. It's nice.
Yeah.
But Arthur comes up to confront him then,
and he's convinced Arthur is King Arthur, your ruler human, and he's also kind of fascinated by the biology of like you breathe. They breathe through these tiny holes, or they don't breathe at all. And Arthur confronts him. And it's like, again, the very interesting. Like Arthur's like, I'm not their king. It's like, if you aren't ruling them, then what are you doing up here? Where's the Atlantean army? Just beneath the surface, waiting for my signal. And again, it's this whole idea of like Arthur trying to convince his brother that no, it was an accident. It's like the world doesn't even think Atlantis exists. Begging him to just send the Atlanteans home. And Orm's like, no, Boston will be a cautionary tale.
Which is just a great line out of context.
Yeah.
Boston will be a cautionary tale.
And this...
yeah. So then the Justice League arrives. They have
mainly the Trinity boom tubes down. And it's like, it's Orm's like, are these three your rulers?
Arthur says, no, you need to give me more time. Superman says, we're already tracking Atlanteans moving into either side of the city, Aquaman. There is no more time. Your brother is coming with us. Arthur says, I'm sorry, but you forced my hand. Arthur puts Batman into a chokehold, and we go into Justice League number 16, Throne of Atlantis, Chapter 3, drawn back by Ivan Reis. We're up at the Watchtower. Volko is remembering Arthur's backstory, recounting it to Cyborg. Once again, just giving it for the non-Aquaman readers of Justice League.
And Cyborg uses this opportunity to boom tube down and save Dr. Shin. Basically, before being attacked by Atlanteans, while Arthur is going to attack Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Like you feel the tension, and it all eventually kicks off. Orm is just like, it's like, are you the king? Are you the king? Someone give me a king. Monarchy is the only form of government I respect.
Yeah, it's really really fun. It's funny, but also it's an interesting look at the way Orm thinks.
Um, but Bruce just blows up his face using potassium, um,
Makes sense.
which is yeah, yeah. And we have just some great action.
Hmm.
Um,
That's mostly what the scene is.
Action and some
Um,
great just basically parallels for all four of the characters. Uh,
mm,
this whole idea.
nice to see a lot of them interacting with each other. My favorite here is definitely Batman and Orm. I love this. Um, but
Uh,
yeah, again, we're mostly just at a standstill here. Get a nice little action set piece. Wonder Woman grabs Orm, says, "I don't want to hurt you. Surrender now." Orm says, "They hate us, you see, but we are done fearing the surface. We are done living in terror. It is time for war." And this giant Atlantean army raises out of the waters. So cool to see. Just a
Cyborg is nearly overwhelmed with Dr. Shin.
you know,
Um, and he just he boom tubes away. Uh, Gets him up to the watch.
take Shin with him,
Yeah.
obviously. Um, Now we have the fight continuing here over in Boston. Arthur and Orm are officially enemies now, which I like. I like again. I really like how just this tension rose between the two of them, and now they're officially fighting.
Yeah. And it's this it's Arthur's also just cut off from the sea life, whereas Orm can use the sea itself. Like he does a whole water tornado thing
Mhm.
to capture to basically just capture Diana.
Mhm.
Clark comes in to save her, and he pulls a Superman. Um, I What's interesting is that they have all of the highlights on his costume lighting up with his
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
It's an interesting
It's
design choice.
yeah,
Uh,
it's probably just more an aesthetic thing,
yeah.
uh, rather than like an actual like function of the suit.
And Orm lets out that my crown controls the ocean, my trident the storms.
And
Which
so he brings a storm down onto them. This lightning rains down from above, literally attacks Diana Diana and Clark. I was about to say Diana and Arthur. Um, and Orm seems to have them all in his grasp. Meanwhile, back up at the watchtower, we have Cyborg, Shin, and Volko here. We
trying
see
to
that
compare notes.
yeah. But also something like that I think I remember when I first read this, at the back of my mind was constantly that yeah, Volko hates Shin. Like no doubt about it. Like he has to.
Yeah,
I
because
don't know if that was going through like your head at all, but like you could feel that tension there despite it not actually illustrated in the book.
it's there mainly because one, Volko doesn't even acknowledge Shin's presence.
Yeah.
Like it's very much just acknowledge Cyborg, acknowledge that Victor Stone is there. um
Hmm.
and you see Arthur going down before we then cut over to Star Labs,
Hmm.
where Cyborg gets his one big moment in this big thing that I really like. And when we talk about the movie, we have to talk about how they adapted this because oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. um but yeah, so we get a great moment here between Silas and his son. Um Vic accepts the upgrade here,
Except
says
that
do it.
his
So
dad almost tries to talk him out of it, which is
because he could tell that Vic is doing this impulsively,
yeah, that
but it
maybe he
needs to be
does.
done. But it needs to be done in this moment. It's interesting. Um, but also what we do here is we start to call in reinforcements
Because they
from
need more.
Cyborg.
They need more time, and you have bringing in a bunch of characters, some of whom I know, some
So
of whom I
let's do a quick rundown. So obviously Green Arrow. We talked about him.
him. I know
Um,
Shazam. We've talked about him 2 episodes ago
let's see Zatanna. I know you know from the animated series.
from the animated series.
Element Woman. You do know.
I do technically tech from Sandman.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Sandman.
Though obviously revived here because she was a bit
She was a bit dead when we saw her.
She was just a little bit dead.
Dead, killed by the sun god and all that. Black Lightning. Do you know Black
I
Lightning at all?
don't know, but I know that he has a show.
Okay, yes, he does. Let's see, Vixen. Anything about Vixen?
Vixen, I vaguely knew had like a web series that I never
Yeah, that
watched.
was also tied into the CW stuff somehow. Yep.
Black Canary and Firestorm, I both knew from Arrow and the Flash.
Yep. Hawkman also was on the CD. You know, this is just a CW cast.
Basically.
This is it, minus like 3 characters. Yeah, and then Gold Rush, even I'm not terribly familiar with, so I don't know. And Hawkman, yeah, I think we mentioned that already.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say welcome to the Justice League, and then they're gonna barely show up in the event. So,
yeah, which was kind of a letdown.
Yeah, but also it's another one of those things where you're like, okay, clearly we're just setting up for Trinity War again here. So
like, okay, I get it, but also give him a little something. Like again, give Shazam something. You put him on the cover of like
he has the backup stories, Jacob. They're just not collected here. Damn it.
Yes.
Anyway, on to Aquaman number 16, Throne of Atlantis, chapter 4. We're back to Paul Pelletier. I fucking hate saying that name. I don't know why. But we're doing this upgrade. We're back in the Red Room, back at Star Labs, back from Origin. We're keeping up with the fight down on the surface, down in Boston, from the Watchtower. We see this tension sort of rise between Volko and Shin here, which
what's also interesting is that Cyborg has to be taken offline for the operation, which
is why we need those reinforcements.
Yeah, but like it's such a good moment, you know. And while he's up dormant, he is trying to basically rebuild the corrupted file of like to see what triggered the missiles that started all of this. One thing I kind of like is that it doesn't entirely seem to be doing, because you see the Justice League fighting each other immediately after this. Johns doesn't necessarily play into like, let's ruin all the trust of the Justice League. Really.
Yeah. It's still like there's still a team dynamic there. Just that moment because Arthur's loyalties have always been sort of divided.
Yeah. It's been a division, but yeah, you have that real tension between Shid and Volko. With the whole reveal, Orm's given them a death sentence. Because we go
into the dark waters,
and you have Arthur breaking out of it's a pod, and I think it's meant to be made of the trench's saliva.
The same ones that they were trapping people back in the trench. All the League is trapped down here again, except for Flash. I honestly have no clue why he's excluded from this event.
Yeah, he's really not here, which is weird.
I don't know. I honestly, there was probably something going on at the time that they couldn't have him here.
Yeah, maybe something in the Flash book.
I can't think of what it was because I've read most of that run.
Or maybe Johns just didn't want to clutter things too much.
Maybe we already complimented the fact that it is more focused in the League member that it includes here, but totally contradicted because we have a fucking 2-page spread featuring the reinforcements that Cyborg called in.
Yeah. Well, before that, we have this great moment again between Arthur and Bruce. Of like Bruce, my suit can handle extreme pressures. It's like, how deep are we? Bottom of the ocean, maybe further. I'm going to gather bioluminescent fish I can to light up the area. We need light to see where we are. As Arthur's trying to basically prepare to let them out, he's attacked by the trench. And like the idea is that the trench are going to be swarming.
And Arthur is the only one free so far to fight them off.
Yes.
But meanwhile, like I said, our reinforcements are fighting off the Atlanteans and
a great two-page spread.
And we get another page of a couple panels of these heroes fighting off everyone.
Which you get. I will say, Johns does a good job of at least giving them a little characterization.
And if you're totally unfamiliar with these characters, you get like a decent get like a little sample platter of their personalities. We get
Yeah.
the title of Hawkman's solo series during the New 52 was the Savage Hawkman, so they really leaned into like his warrior side. You see the talking back and forth between the Firestorm personalities.
Yes.
You have Vixen and Black Canary working together here. It's nice to see. Like I said, it's a sample platter of their personalities. But that's it.
That's it.
It really doesn't do much for
It's
this
another
story. It
example
just
of, hey, we have other books. Go read these
yeah.
other books. And again, we said in the Justice League episode, I'm not always the biggest fan of that because it's like.
But again, also, but also, you've never done the comic experience
Yes,
of reading stuff as it
again.
comes out,
Yeah.
which I've been doing for so much of my life. Like stuff like that. I'm so used to, I guess.
Yes.
But Orm comes out to take people on himself. I love this next scene here where Victor is dreaming
Yeah, it
inside the
is.
cyborg
It is
suit.
a brilliant. It is like the best
This is
bit of Victor Stone in
There are a
this.
lot of great moments like this that Marv Wolfman does in the Teen Titans stuff. Where
Oh,
like Johns is very much channeling some Wolfman here.
yeah.
It's very very cool. So you
I
have this
love
bit.
just the image of the
Victor's
empty armor telling him it's time to wake up, and
yeah,
just that
and Victor says,
face.
"Please, no, please, just a little long," and he's
He's back
back in the real
online.
world. Oh man, that hurts. Mira's
Yeah,
finally
well,
back.
it hurts
Thank
even
fuck.
more because it hurts even more because it's like your system will supply the oxygen to your brain needs now. You can survive in water or in space. Nothing can hurt you.
And he just says, "Yeah,"
Because
but
he's
oh
no longer breathing,
oh my god.
which is
Oh, that
just
hurts.
it
Oh, it's
hurts.
so good though. Oh my god.
And
Anyway,
he goes with Mira because they found Batman. Batman was able to send a beacon. Um,
Arthur
and
is
again,
still fighting off the trench and keeping his
luckily
friends
he got
safe to
he.
best.
Luckily, I think the implication is he's close to getting Bruce out.
Mhm.
Um,
I like that Bruce is the priority. Like he's the first one you want to get out. I love that.
yeah, because Bruce is the smart one and the one that he
Yeah.
respects.
Yeah, despite
Um,
the fact that like Bruce would probably get eaten alive by these guys.
oh
Like
yeah,
he
yeah.
would
Bruce is the one with no powers. Like,
yeah.
like get Clark or Diana out because they could at least help you fight in an
Yeah.
underwater environment, probably.
But meanwhile, Vic and Mira come in here and they fight off the trench themselves. We
Again,
start releasing everyone else from the pods.
again, Mira's a badass.
Yeah, it's just God, I love her. Um, but anyway, yeah. So they start to free everyone from the pods. We're back on the surface. We're starting to go back up to the surface. However, the trench are now joining us on the surface,
Another
and
great spread of the
of
trench
course,
joining.
because oh wait, no, I was about to say because Ivan Reese, but no, not Ivan
Not
Reese.
every, but still a great spread.
Yeah,
Um,
great spread.
and it's this great idea that
Yeah.
Arthur thinks Orm's controlling them, and immediately find out what creatures are these.
hmm The trench come out. We have to find out like why they're coming, well, like why they're even involved in this to begin with, because we find out that Orm does not know what these even are. I'm interested that like they don't even imply that Orm knows has even like heard of the trench though.
Yeah, my brain was like,
So
oh, so it's not him. I'm like, then my brain's like, wait, who could it be? And immediately on the next page,
Volko snaps on Shin, beats the piss out of him. Uh, let's see. When he left Atlantis, they turned against me. They sent me into exile. They will regret it. Volko picks up the scepter here from the others, and Shin is bleeding on the ground. Volko is sort of like the background villain now of this, and I don't
yeah,
know. I was curious how you felt about this.
I wasn't expecting it. Um, partially because
Do
he
you
was.
think it's good though?
Oh, I think it's good. It's a great twist. Partially because I was expecting, because of his appearance in Justice League,
I think it's interesting how essential the zero issue is for this twist to work, because I think the zero issue is what makes you love Volko. Like,
oh yeah,
makes him a really sympathetic character.
it makes him sympathetic. You just see who he is, and he's like, oh, he's so nice.
But even then, when we get into this last issue, then we see that Volko's intentions aren't entirely evil either. He just happens to be doing what he does maliciously.
Yeah, like he wants Arthur to be king. And ultimately, he kind of gets what he wants,
Yeah,
which is a very interesting twist.
yeah.
Yeah,
But we're now on the last issue of Throne of Atlantis, Justice League number 17, with the best cover. Like, God, I love this one with Orm holding like a piece of all the Justice League here as he has the trident. Like, oh, so cool.
Batarang,
Superman's cape, the cyborg helmet piece, the trident, the lasso.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's also just cyborg stuff that's floating in the water. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the feathers are.
No. That's
it looks like a feather. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a feather term. Like who's got a feather?
Hawkman?
Hawkman?
but I highlight him.
Highlight him, who has had nothing really. Well, I mean, small appearance, but like really nothing.
Yeah. This last issue is both Ivan Reis and Paul Pelletier. So nice to see them working together on this one. But Volko has gotten away. The Justice League is checking up on Shin. Nice to see that Shin's at least still around.
Yeah, and he's alive.
Yeah.
And the idea is that he's teleported away.
Yeah. Great spread here next with all of our reinforcements with the Atlanteans, and I think, are the Trench featured here too, or no?
No.
Still just the Atlanteans, but Orm is there at the middle, and I love that.
Yeah, just sort of at the middle
of all the chaos.
And he was basically informed that the Flesh Eaters have left their trench. And Orm is.
I forget. Do they call him Ocean Master at all in this?
Or
do they do it towards the end?
Maybe, I don't think so. I know they do it in the Aquaman film.
Like, I feel like Johns wouldn't pass up the opportunity to call him Ocean Master at some point.
I don't know. Weird.
Interesting. Anyway, so Orm is surrounded. The Justice League comes through, then they boom tube in. It's all 6 of them now, which, by the way, Mira looks so right here with this Justice League lineup.
Yeah.
Can she just be a leaguer, please?
It's surprising that she isn't. And
I will say she does become a leaguer in Rebirth.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah.
That'll be fun if we cover Rebirth stuff.
Yes.
But it's kind of interesting because I know, like, part of the complaints of the New 52 was not championing diversity, and like Mira could be a leaguer there. Like,
Mira could still be a leaguer. She's one of the stars of Blackest Night. Like, Jeff Johns loves this fucking character.
Oh, good, because she's a great character.
Yeah. I love her. I know I mention it every time she's on the fucking page.
We are at essentially the climax.
Yes. Nice big action sequence here. It's not much more beyond that. It's a big fight scene.
There's the great explanation.
It's very nice.
It was also nice that Orm is listening to Arthur still. It's like, part of me is thankful to see you alive, but I have a duty as king to destroy the enemies of Atlantis, and you are now one of those enemies. It wasn't a human that fired those missiles into Atlantis, Orm. Volko is behind all of this.
I love that. Like Volko isn't even necessarily a villain though either. I love the way this is portrayed. But we'll get into that in a bit though.
Yeah.
With Volko's actual motivations.
Orm thinks it's a lie. Stop treating me like a fool. And Volko is still like, come on, Arthur. Be a king. Do it. Kill your. He's basically egging Arthur on to kill his brother. Like, that's the vibe that I got.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the action builds, and like Arthur is still kind of holding back. Like,
also, wow, I forgot about this. We get a brief appearance of the Atom here.
We do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really funny. Huh. I I reread this book just like a week ago, and I forgot about this.
I mean, she kind of gets lost in like all of the action.
Yeah, it's just a fun little like throwaway bit. It's fun. I like it. Um, moving on. Let's see.
Yeah, Orm is a last desperate attempt to flood the city, and Mira comes in to hold the water back.
Mhm.
And it's, they can't, like that convict can't hold up the water forever. Zatanna changes it to ice.
Yes. I'm assuming obviously you can tell like the old Zatanna thing for her spells was that you'd write all the words backwards.
Yeah, I heard that was a thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
that was
shame.
always it. And they haven't changed it since. So
Yeah. I mean, it's a good easy magic system.
yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Uh,
But yeah, so we do that. Volko is just kind of standing up on a building holding the scepter.
well, Arthur
Um,
narrates, it's I was as happy as you to discover I had a brother Orm, to feel like I wasn't so alone, but I am alone. That's the life of a true leader,
oh
which
god.
is interesting. Don't entirely agree
Because
with that sentiment, but I understand where he's coming from. It's like, that's why I never wanted the crown.
as
And
he fucking knocks Norm, Orm. Oh my god, it's been a long 2 weeks. It's been a long 2 weeks.
we are suddenly in
Knocks Orm.
Cheers, where
Oh my god,
Aquaman is facing the
shut
characters now.
fucking. I want fucking Orm. Oh my god. Anyway, he knocks Orm on his ass. As he fucking should.
Orm
We
yields.
Yes, and we surround Volko. Aquaman picks up the fucking trident, knocks the fucking trench away, commands, "I am your king." Volko surrenders. Everyone bows to Arthur. Just oh god, such a
And
great moment.
everyone
It's a
fights the trench to send them back to hell. Even Orm, who respects his brother as king, because again, Orm isn't evil.
yeah, not inherently.
Not inherently. He has the capacity to change.
Yeah, yeah. Which makes him a really cool character. Honestly, like the two big villains that we focused on in these volumes with Black Manta and Ocean Master, like they're not inherent like I mean they're evil characters. They do evil things. But they're very complex, and I love the way Johns writes them.
And they both have a chance for
Very
redemption.
different, I would say, to the way Johns writes his main villains in the Justice League books.
Oh yeah, his villains and justice are just flat out evil.
Mhm.
Um,
So
but
interesting. But yeah, we take the trench out. Like I said, Volko surrenders.
and gives Arthur the scepter. Arthur just punches him in the face, which is so satisfying.
Yeah, because Volko's just a dick at this point. But I love what Volko says here. Arthur says, "How could you betray me like this?" Volko says, "Because I love Atlantis and I love you like a son." And Arthur says he sends the trench home because he can just do that now with the scepter. And let's see. Oh yeah. I like this little bit where one of the Atlanteans says, "Yes, my king, but what of King of Orm?" And Arthur says,
He's
"He stays
stays
here."
here.
So we're gonna keep Orm over here on the surface. Orm freaks out over this. He says, "I yielded the throne. I
I
yielded."
really hope that this gets followed up on somewhere.
I believe it does.
Okay, because it seems fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. We will get there.
Um,
But yeah, so we lock up Orm. He is in Bel Rev, presumably, right? Yeah.
right,
He's got
yeah,
to be in
and
Bel Rev. Yeah, because that's the only person that was featured earlier in this.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
love his final lines, like, please let me talk to him. I don't belong here. Like, you feel really bad for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
There's a lot to unpack there still. It's cool. We get a great scene at the end here, though. Arthur and Mara are sort of recuperating from everything, and Arthur asks Mara to come with him down to Atlantis, and And she says, "I can't. I know you know why I can't." Um, and Arthur leaves. Shin is then interviewed by reporters. Nice to see Shin get a proper ending, which is very nice.
And it's such a good closure where his one it's people it's like, do you feel vindicated?
And he
No.
says no. Um, Arthur leaves. He goes into the ocean. Mara stays behind with Aquadog. Um, I can't call him anything else at this point. He's Aquadog. But we get some epilogue scenes here. We see Amanda Waller talking to Colonel
Colonel
Trevor.
Trevor.
Lays out some people here. We already talked about the Justice League of America on the last Justice League episode. We see Batman say here, we need to do what we haven't done before. We open our ranks, which is pretty much why we had our win. And then we see a mysterious purple suited white handed figure says, the opportunity is now. It is time for recruitment, starting with the Scarecrow.
Okay, so it's clear that white hand is a glove, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not the Joker.
This is setting up the event that I mentioned briefly earlier on, Forever Evil.
Forever Evil. Okay. Okay.
It's they did this whole thing for it. It was an event called Forever Evil. There were a fuck ton of tie-ins for it.
Is this why issues 23 of some of the New 52
yes,
runs
do this
weird thing
where it's like 23.123 or 4?
Yeah.
And that was, yeah, they released this all in the space of a month. It was called Villains Month. They had these really nice hollow covers, and I'm ashamed to say I own like I think 80% of them.
Of course you do.
I it's like, look, I was a really horrible collector back in the day. That was like right when I got like hardcore into collecting comics, and I held back on nothing. So whatever. That's it.
Okay. Because cool. Like it was okay when I originally first read this, I was like, so how many parties are at play on this final page?
Yeah, and
because I originally thought it was just. I originally thought it was just 2. I completely missed like the third panels for somehow. My eye just like glossed over it.
Well, it almost looks like it could be part of that same thing that Amanda Waller's doing with Trevor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it like isn't
because it's all villains and there's only like one villain on the Amanda Waller page. So,
yeah. Is she really a villain though?
Anyway, so now we're on to, so this is why I always say read both Justice League and Aquaman volumes, because Justice League has some extra stuff that the Aquaman stuff doesn't. We get an epilogue scene here,
which I think this is actually from Justice League issue like 13 or 14. This is like,
is it? I didn't know this. I didn't know this.
I looked into this, and it's like, because like the way like the wiki plots out this, it does like Justice League 13, 14, Aquaman, Justice League, Aquaman, Justice League, Aquaman, and then it says Justice League 13. So like, this is like,
all right. So I guess it's a backup story from there. All right.
Yeah.
Then. I was completely unaware. And it just pretty much, it's almost like the exact same scene from the end of Villain's Journey.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, where Trevor and Oliver team up. Again, we're just continuing this.
I like seeing Oliver.
Yeah, we're just continuing the setup for Justice League of America, and again, Oliver is best characterized by Jeff Johns, I'd say, in the New 52. So there's that.
I mean, it looks like they're also setting up an arc thing with like this piece of metal with an image on it with that insignia.
Yeah,
and Oliver is sent on an errand, and that's one of those, oh, we're setting up future comic things. It's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah. But again, as I keep saying, you've never done the full experience.
I think more the issue is putting it right at the end. Sounds like it would work for the trade collection.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it does.
Yeah, it almost works better like in issue 13.
Yeah,
because those are like the random stories that are like preludes to Throne of Atlantis.
Yeah, like at the end here, it's like we've just had the emotional core ending of wrapping up with Orm, wrapping up with Arthur, wrapping up with Shin.
But
Now,
on wrapping up these characters, our last Twitter question also comes from at Jamie_season 7. Says, don't know if you'll agree, but I think Aquaman leaving the team after this would have worked well. Thoughts on that, Jacob?
possibly, uh, but kind of the person who likes Aquaman in me is like, I still want to see him more of him on the Justice League, and I want to see more of these interactions.
Yeah. Like
Like,
if nothing else, I do definitely see what he's going for. Like Aquaman going down into Atlantis there to be their king
yeah.
properly is sort of sending off his character. So still having him on the league is a little weird.
I mean, it's telling that after like the only sort of like DC movie he really appears in the animated universe in any real like big capacity, I looked is really is basically Throne of Atlantis.
Yeah, pretty much. He makes
Uh,
small appearances elsewhere, and that's about it.
but yeah, they're very minor, which is
Still played by Anakin Skywalker though.
uh,
Still played by Anakin Skywalker, which I just love. That's Matt Lanter as Aquaman. But I guess on that we finished up the comic. Overall thoughts on Throne of Atlantis?
Again, a good, nice, tight arc.
Yeah, definitely.
Leaves.
I think cutting down on the members on the amount of Justice League members that we had here definitely was to the story's advantage.
Was helpful. I do feel a little. I do feel there's some point that like there are like Cyborg is great when he's focused on, but pushing him to the sidelines so much in the arc is kind of a shame.
Yeah.
I also think definitely just as an arc, it's just not as interesting as the others. It feels almost more like an epilogue to the others, at least in terms of Arthur's development.
I guess, but also it's an entirely new plot line when you throw Orm into the mix.
Yeah.
And Volko, who wasn't at all a part of the trench of the others, which is interesting because I guess Volko with the Zero Issue very much feels a part of Arthur's life the entire time, but he was only introduced for this arc.
Yeah, which again is also interesting. Like maybe you should have introduced him a little earlier than they did.
Yeah, but again, like I said, like the Zero Issue does so much for this story.
It does, and like yeah, if you're just gonna be like reading Aquaman and not Justice League, get the Aquaman version of the trade.
Yeah, definitely.
Or the Omni by Jeff Johns because it's in the Omni too.
Yeah. But on that, I guess high recommendations, of course, for the comic. Let's talk about adapted media. The Throne of Atlantis animated movie. So this continues on from the DC animated universe. Started with Justice League War, or I guess started with Flashpoint Paradox, but still, in the actual reset universe, Justice League War, and then this, as far as Justice League movies go. You watched that for the first time and prep for this. What did you think of it?
I'm actually kind of conflicted.
Okay.
Okay, I understand why introducing Arthur as a character not in War works, right? Because they're going to be adapting Throne of Atlantis next.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's definitely some stuff that like just does not work as well in the film.
Okay.
Cyborg especially. Like
yeah, I see what they
like,
were going for with Cyborg in that one, but yeah, it doesn't
work. And basically the opening scene is him replacing his lung. Like
yeah, and they take that like out of like actually being part of the action.
Yeah, like no. That's a thing you need to do. I'm glad, we got some more Sean Astin Shazam. He's always
I think this is his last appearance as Shazam, unfortunately, because well, he's Sean Astin and kind of hard to get consistently for these appearances.
Yes.
That said, though, this is where a lot of the main cast of this animated universe does come in. So it's the first Jerry O'Connell Superman appearance, and he's fantastic.
The way he and Rosario Dawson play the date scene sort of thing. Because they do. It feels like they do draw on issues 13 and 14 a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Just for building up that relationship. And I like that they introduced Lois as a character.
Nice to see John Henry Irons in there for a little bit.
Yes, he's there for like 2 seconds.
But obviously it's really cool because it's in the same universe as the Death of Superman movies that we covered, and so it's that same John Henry Irons.
So you kind of already know with the introduction of Lois and John Henry Irons, sort of like where I kind of already knew where this universe is going.
Yeah. As I said, Matt Lanter is Aquaman in this, and he's fantastic.
He is the highlight. He is great.
Sam Witwer is Orm. I fucking love. Do you know Sam Witwer from anything?
You've talked about him.
He's a big Star Wars guy.
He's a big Star Wars guy.
Big Star Wars guy. So he did Darth Maul in Clone Wars and all the animated stuff. And then but his first, I think it was his first breakout Star Wars role was Force Unleashed. He was Star Killer in the Force Unleashed games.
And I know my brothers played at least the
he was like the main guy in those.
Game of that.
Yeah, he was the main guy in those, and he's brilliant. Just a fantastic voice actor. Always just 110% fantastic villain characters.
I'll also say, I think it's who's playing Mira? It's Sumali.
Sumali Montano.
She's great.
Yeah. Also, this is the first Nathan Fillion or Green Lantern.
Yes.
In this universe, I should specify. But yes, so good. I
was like, oh right, Nathan Fillion, you're back.
Yeah. Also, some really interesting casting choices in here. George Newbern is Steve Trevor.
Right. Is that Newbern playing him?
Yeah, that's George Newbern is Steve Trevor, the George Newbern, the fucking Superman guy from the Justice League series. Yeah. And then
the other big
Superman actor. Yeah. And then Harry Lennox is Black Manta. Do you know who that is?
I've heard that name.
He's General Swanwick from the Zack Snyder stuff. Yeah. So he's Black Manta, and he's great. And then Steve Bloom is Lex Luthor.
Yes, yeah, because it wasn't. Okay,
it wasn't the guy from The Office. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't hate Rainn Wilson. Like as an actor, he's a good actor.
He's just not Lex Luthor. Come on.
Yeah, like, it's the problem. It's the problem of because The Office got so big, no one can see him as anyone other than Dwight from The Office, which is really a shame.
But also, I would just say like his voice just doesn't match the role.
It doesn't match as well. And he tries. He doesn't give a bad performance, but
Jason O'Mara continues to be great as Batman. He's so good.
I love that O'Mara again still does his own thing as Batman. Is not trying to be like any of the other big Batman's actors. Like
so, rather interestingly, I guess in the 3 versions of the story we're covering, Arthur's mom plays 3 different roles in these things, and she stays alive progressively longer in each one. So in the comic, she's dead from the out. In the animated movie, she dies about halfway through.
Yeah, about halfway through, which is interesting.
And then in the live action film Aquaman, where she's played by Nicole Kidman.
Okay, so I when watching Aquaman, I was like, hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman. Hang on, shouldn't you be back with trying to fuck Batman?
Yeah, and Joel Schumacher's awkward gay energy.
Yes. But she's great.
Yeah, she's honestly one of my favorite things about the film. I mean, honestly, I love that entire film. It's so good.
Aquaman is a great film. It's a great spiritual adaptation of Throne of Atlantis. Like
honestly, I think on most days I would say like we could have maybe watched it with The Trench and the others, but I would say you would need this as well.
You would need this. Yeah. A lot of the actual conflict comes from Throne of Atlantis, and that's kind of what drives the film forward.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I will also say, I think a lot of people who don't like Aquaman 2018 don't like it because it's kind of colorful. Like
I love how colorful it is.
Yeah, no, like it feels there's color. It feels alive, but it doesn't. It has its own identity where it doesn't feel like it's trying to be like the MCU. Like I've heard some people try to claim that it's trying to be like the MCU, and I'm like, what? No, it's not. It's not like this is like. James Wan directed this. Like, there are his fingerprints all over this
Yeah,
movie.
there's still like those trace horror elements in there, but it's so colorful. Also, again, it's a James Wan film. Patrick Wilson has to be there, and he plays
Yes,
Orm, and he's awesome.
he's
Um,
great. Again,
but
Momoa
honestly,
is also
my favorite performance in the whole movie is Yahya Abdul-Mateen as Black Manta.
yes,
So fucking good. The way they play him and his and Arthur's relationship,
so
fucking
much
phenomenal.
pathos, so
Oh,
much pathos.
so good. And he's
Uh,
like gonna be like the main villain in the second one, so I'm so
yes.
excited.
I'll also say, just Momoa has so much chemistry. Like,
Yeah, and maybe a bad time to be recording this episode, but Amber Heard is good. I think
Amber Heard. Okay, Heard is a good actress
she
despite
is.
being a shit human being. Like,
Yes, yeah.
uh,
But honestly, she's very good and great casting for the role of
and she
her.
gets better as like the film goes on. Like, I was a little rough for her for like some of the early scenes.
Really, because
Yeah, something just
I thought the only rough Heard Mira performance was in Justice League actually.
Well, yeah, just the early scenes just felt a little choppy.
And again, just how colorful the film is. Like when Momoa actually gets the proper orange suit, like it looks so damn good.
I know
Um, and
people.
and from that point, they just embrace the camp. Like he literally rides a seahorse at one point. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
they embrace it and it works. It works
Yeah,
so
yeah.
well.
Willem Dafoe is in it. He's awesome. There's a Julie Andrews sea monster.
Yeah, yeah.
There's-
Okay. Can we talk about that?
yes, we can
Because
talk
like
about.
I was watching it, I'm like, yeah, this is great, cool. Wait a minute, I know that voice, Joey.
The Mary Poppins sea monster. I
Why
love
is
it.
Julie Andrews in this? I'm not complaining, but I need to know why.
It's amazing. It's fucking amazing. Also Graham McTavish, just fucking I don't know. He shows up in the weirdest like nerdy things, and he's so great.
Yeah, he's just there for like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
Randall Park plays
yeah,
Stephen
right.
Shin.
Yes, yeah, he's awesome. Tamura Morrison plays Arthur's dad, which is great. Um, and what was the other one I wanted to talk about? There was someone else I wanted to mention. Or was that it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think that was it. Actually, never mind.
I'm really excited for the sequel when
Oh,
it
that's right,
comes.
John Rhys Davies.
Oh yeah, he was in the
Yeah,
movie.
he's the Brine King. Yeah, yeah,
I'm excited to see what they do with the sequel.
yeah. So am I.
It doesn't seem like they're actually adapting like a comic.
Yeah,
Uh,
which I'm fine with. Which
yeah,
I'm fine
but
with.
like, yeah, just keep making. Momoa's got charm. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
keep putting him in things, and
Mhm.
apparently Heard's only in like 10 minutes of the movie,
I'm fine with that.
which is like, yeah, for the third one, you maybe do a recast
Yeah,
because, yeah,
yeah. But even then, like I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation. I don't know.
yeah.
On that note,
On that note,
I'm glad we got to cover so much adapted media with this one.
we did. It was fun.
We've kind of starved of that lately.
Yes,
Yeah, it's nice. It's very nice. All right. Is that about it?
that is it.
That is it. All right. So bad news for the listeners. Jacob already knows what the next two episodes are.
I do.
Um, the way we had to schedule it with our we have a guest on the next two episodes. So with our next block of episodes,
It was,
we had to
and it was
schedule,
a matter of
we had to
me
schedule things.
knowing who the guest was
Yeah, and
and
it's like
what the guest would be on.
it was a situation where Andrew, first off, if you're listening to this, Andrew, basically me telling Jacob that Andrew is gonna be on the episode. I was like, okay, you know what it's gonna fucking
Now
be.
I know what it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
So we're having our friend Andrew on the next two episodes. We're going to be reading for both the next two episodes. We're going to be reading the first two volumes of the Marv Wolfman George Perez New Teen Titans run. Episode 16 will be volume 1. Episode 17 will be volume 2. This covers the first 16 issues altogether, so it'll be 8 and 8. So join us next time, I guess, when we're reading the first volume of the New Teen Titans by Marv Wolfman and George Perez.
Our first pre-crisis episode.
Yeah. Still, in all the recent decades we're covering, I'm still narrowly avoiding the early 2000s for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. We'll get there soon, I swear. We'll get there. All right. But yeah, back to the 80s, which we haven't done since God, Dark Knight Returns?
Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, also because you knew what these were, you already had the books, so we'll be able to record them soon.
Yes.
I'm very excited. Also, to people listening to this that keep up with the YouTube channel, sorry I haven't been keeping up with the off weeks on Mondays. Like I said, it's been a very hectic couple of weeks for me, for my personal life, so I haven't been able to keep up with those off weeks. Hopefully, I'll be able to continue it next Monday after this episode comes out. So you'll see a regular video on Blood Donut Studios before our next episode comes out the week after. If anything of what I said makes any sense, let me know.
Yes. We will also be having after the next episode, I think, which probably fair to announce.
Yes, between 16 and 17, we'll be having our third bonus episode. Can we say what it's on, or do we want to wait?
We can say what it's on. We will be covering.
Jacob is finishing Superman the Animated Series for the first time.
Yes.
So we'll be covering that in a similar fashion to how we covered Batman the Animated Series. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to that. And plus, I just love the bonus episodes. They're so much fun. I'm excited to do another one. So. Yeah, I guess that about does it. Thank you all so much for listening. Wherever you're listening to us, be sure to leave a rating and subscribe. Review if you can. Subscribe to Blood Donut Studios on YouTube. And I guess until next time, this has been Joey Morgan
and Jacob Licklider.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.